that being the biggest priority at the moment. And then there are perhaps 3 or 4 more of these ferries on their way. Tough conditions, we're told, tough sea conditions travelling across from Tripoli. But they've got there, or at least the first one's got there. And now, as I said, the focus to get the sick and injured off. We'll come back to that. We'll come back to Paddy in a moment as well. First, I want to tell you about some other evacuations which have been going on. A group of UN workers evacuated from Tripoli has arrived at a military airport outside of Rome. They include Italians and other European Union citizens, flown back on 2 Italian military transport planes mobilised by the country's Foreign Ministry Emergency Unit. We've also seen relief at Athens airport, where Greek nationals have been safely airlifted home from Tripoli. Most described scenes of chaos in the Libyan capital. One said he witnessed what he called 4 cold-blooded executions in the streets. Let's take you back to Valletta and the first people disembarking that ferry and not needing any assistance, those particular people. I don't know if they were crew or not, but we would expect the first people to come off would be those requiring immediate medical attention, or perhaps they may be taken off via another method. Cal Perry, our correspondent overlooking it, what do you see there?
Well, I can tell you that they are going to be taking off those who need medical assistance first. All of the roads from here to the local hospital have been cleared ahead of time. The intersection's cleared. There is a police motorcycle, which you can't see, just below me, ready to go. As soon as they get those first passengers off, they're going to take them immediately to the hospital. The concern, obviously, this was an 8-hour voyage on very high seas, and before that, 48 hours sitting in the port of Tripoli. We don't know the conditions on the boat, but you can imagine, obviously, quite difficult. So the story here right now is one of getting these people the medical attention that they need. The hospital on high alert. They are expecting an influx of passengers. And as I said, the island really has been cleared. They've cleared all the roads so that they can just rush these people right through the intersections, get them straight away to the hospital. The U.S. ambassador also here in the terminal, ready to greet people as they come through. The concern is, of course, one of sickness for these people. Come on.
How many more ferries expected in Cal? I said 3, but I suspect it's maybe 4.
No, the second ferry is coming in about now. Both ferries are going back to Tripoli.
I think we've lost sound from Cal Perry. Unfortunately, I can still see him on my screen here, but we're getting a little bit of breakup there, certainly audio breakup. Hang on, Cal, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Kamal. Can you hear me?
Oh, we've got Cal Perry back. Sorry, Cal, how many more ferries expected?
Yeah. So this is the first of 2 American ships. The Chinese have just announced that they've put on one that should be coming in the next 2 to 3 hours, and there's a British frigate that's going to be bringing people in from Benghazi. So I think we're going to be seeing these scenes play out really throughout the night as people are shuttled immediately to hospital to check on, obviously, their vitals and how they're doing health-wise. Interesting listening to Patty Culhane talk from Washington. Really, this does free up the Americans to be able to now talk about what is that next step. Now that they have their citizens out, now that people are receiving the medical attention they need and they're in a safe place here in Malta, what is the next step? We know NATO is in an emergency meeting. We should hear an announcement from them soon. But again, on the ground here, all the streets really of the island have been cleared to get these people straight to the hospital as they come off this boat.
Looks like medical crews heading on board there as well. Cal, thank you for that update. Cal Perry in Malta, overlooking that US chartered ferry, first of 2 US vessels arriving with passengers. You can just see the outlines of them there through the windows there. 300 plus passengers evacuated from Libya, keeping an eye on those doors, hoping to see perhaps the first people coming off. As Cal was telling us, those in need of medical attention will be the first heading off that ferry. I want to actually go back to Tripoli itself now, speak to one woman on the line, not naming for her own safety. What's it like just now? I was speaking to someone about an hour ago or 2 hours ago. They said they could still hear gunfire. What is it like now?
Actually, now it's quiet, I can say, because the gunshots are mostly heard really late at night, after midnight. But the situation today was critical around the Friday prayer, around afternoon, where most of the Protestants went out after the prayer to protest, and troops were put in front of every single mosque in Tripoli to control the crowd, to control the Protestants. And instead, a lot of people were shot randomly. They were shot randomly, and most of actually the witnesses I know are my brothers, because they were among those, and they were actually almost killed as well, only because they spoke with a Benghazi accent. Now the authority are planting the greed among the people.
Would you mind just holding on the line there for me? I'm sorry. We've just got some live pictures I want to talk to our viewers about. I'll come back to you. These are the first people managing to get out of Tripoli. They've gotten on this US chartered ferry. They've been evacuated. You see the first people needing a bit of assistance to get off that ferry to be taken to medical assistance in the hospital in Malta. That hospital standing by there to receive the sick and injured from Tripoli. Ma'am, I'm so sorry to have interrupted you there. I just wanted to bring those live pictures to our viewers. I'm wondering what you're doing to stay safe at the moment, other than probably staying in your house. What precautions are you taking with all that violence around you?
Lately no one is able to sleep. They are taken in shifts to just take care of the house, going around, looking around. We have actually no means of protection. We only are, only these walls around us are protecting us. Otherwise, we can be killed any minute now. We can be shot. We can be, these, black people jumping into houses are the word of the day. In every single group, they're just talking about this, because now they said they jump into houses, and someone might jump into my house right now. It's very, very scary, and the most scary is just the killing itself among the people, because now they give a price to life, the life of the people, and it's 70,000 Libyan dinars that they are giving to anyone who can turn in any Protestant, which is something that is scaring the people the most. Now we cannot trust each other among each other. So I don't know what else this vicious mind can think of to turn this into a war.
Well, look, we thank you for taking the time to talk to us. I appreciate it must be quite a scary time for you, so thank you for taking out some time from your day. Live to New York now, UN headquarters, UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon.
In their public statement, Colonel Gaddafi and members of his family continue to threaten citizens with a civil war and possibility of mass killing if the protests continue. There are other allegations of the killing of soldiers who refuse to fire upon their countrymen. Let us speak frankly. These accounts from the press, from human rights groups, and from civilians on the ground raise grave concerns about the nature and scale of the conflict. They include allegations of indiscriminate killings, arbitrary arrests, shooting of peaceful demonstrators, and the detention and torture of the opposition and the use of foreign mercenaries. We are also hearing reports of women and children being among the victims, as well as reports of indiscriminate attacks on foreigners believed to be mercenaries. We know from the Red Crescent and the ICRC that there are dangerous impediments to medical treatment and access of humanitarian workers. We do not have conclusive proof, but the reports appear to be credible and consistent. I strongly believe that the first obligation of the international community is to do everything possible to ensure the immediate protection of civilians at demonstrable risk. Indeed, if further proof is required, it should be sought simultaneously with measures to afford protection. Today, the Human Rights Council convened a special session which was requested by nearly 50 UN member states, both members and non-members of the Council. It is the first time that a member of Human Rights Council is the subject of a special session. I welcome the strong stand taken by the Human Rights Council today to establish an independent international committee of inquiry, and I pledge my full support. I also note that the Human Rights Council recommended that the General Assembly consider suspending Libya from the Human Rights Council. In this regard, I would like to underscore the statement of the High Commissioner to the Human Rights Council, Ms. Pillay, as she reminded member states when a state manifestly fails to protect its population from serious international crimes, the international community has the responsibility to step in and take protective action in a collective, timely, and decisive manner. Excellencies, let me also point out that there are also serious indications of a growing crisis of refugees and displaced persons. UNHCR staff along the Tunisia-Libya border have reported a steady flow of people fleeing the country since February 22nd. Some 22,000 have fled to Tunisia and a reported 15,000 to Egypt. However, they fear that much larger numbers of residents and migrant workers are in fact trapped and unable to leave for safety. Many of those crossing the border have reported to UNHCR officials that the journey was terrifying. There are widespread reports of refugees being harassed and threatened with guns and knives. It is crucial for humanitarian agencies to have access to the border regions. It is also important for the neighboring states, including Europe, to keep their borders open to people fleeing Libya. We anticipate the situation to worsen as the World Food Programme is concerned about Libya's food supplies. We have seen strong statements from many international leaders and international organizations, among them the League of Arab States, the European Union, and the African Union. They have called for an immediate end to the violence and